Welcome back to a new video on the Essex Boys case. As always, if you are enjoying the content, please do give the video a thumbs up. And if you're interested in the Essex Boys case, or simply true crime in general, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below. The following newspaper article comes from the Mirror, dated the 5th of March 2021, with the headline, "Last man called by one of the murdered Essex Boys was never questioned by police." Is the Essex Boys killer still at large? An ex-detective claims police ignored a shooter clue link in the infamous shotgun murders of Pat Tate, Tony Tucker and Craig Rolfe in 1995. The last man called by one of three gangsters murdered in the 1995 Essex Boys killings was never questioned by police, it has emerged. Retired Detective David McKelvey says the suspected villain was linked to a man who has previously been named as the shooter but was never charged. Instead, Jack Womes and Michael Steele were jailed for life after being convicted of blasting the drug dealers with a shotgun in their Range Rover 26 years ago. But Mr. McKelvey and his team of highly experienced former murder detectives now claim to have found evidence supporting the account of an East End crook who told police he was the getaway driver for the real killer. Mr. McKelvey, who runs private investigation firm TMI, said, quote, "We have done a thorough and detailed investigation which has led us to believe there may have been a miscarriage of justice. Compelling new evidence throws the case into doubt, and we are appealing for witnesses to come forward." The bodies of Pat Tate, 36, Tony Tucker, 38 and Craig Rolfe, 26 were found on a remote snow-covered farm track in Rettendon, Essex on December 7th, 1995. According to the prosecution, they were shot dead the night before between 6:48 and 6:59 PM. The final call made from Tate's mobile, apart from one to a girlfriend, was at 18:26 and lasted 17 seconds. It was never disclosed at the trial. Mr. McKelvey said the vital witness Tate rang is repeatedly named in the police murder file as a person of interest. Days after the murders, an action was raised to interview him, but when his solicitor said he was refusing to talk, officers gave up, the papers reveal. Mr. McKelvey said, quote, "How can you not talk to him? He was the last person to speak to Pat Tate on the phone before he was executed, around half an hour before it. We have requested a meeting with the Chief Constable of Essex on 6 occasions to ask him about our findings without success. As a result, we will be asking these questions in public." Mr. McKelvey believes the evidence supports the account of East End criminal Billy Jasper, who gave Essex police a detailed account of how he was the getaway driver for a named assassin. Detectives made no inquiries into his story, files show. Mr. McKelvey says he has seen intelligence which links the alleged shooter named by Jasper with the man called by Tate before he was shot. He said, quote, "What we have established is the 1826 call was made to an individual who was connected to that man through an armed robbery in 1989. This was known to Essex police in 1995 and 1996, but they never formally interviewed these people about the murders. The convictions of Womes, now 58, and Steele, 76, rested on the testimony of convicted fraudster Darren Nichols. Mr. McKelvey, who arrested Nichols in connection with drug smuggling in 1996, had believed the pair were guilty. He plans to present his findings to the Criminal Cases Review Commission and Essex Police. An Essex Police spokesman said, quote, "There was an exhaustive investigation and the evidence has been examined by the Criminal Cases Review Commission and the Court of Appeal. This case is under review of the CCRC and it would be inappropriate to comment further." The youngest of the three, cocaine addict and gopher Craig Rolfe, 26, was found slumped behind the wheel. He was suspected of murdering a rival drug dealer by giving him a lethal injection just days earlier. Behind Rolfe in the Range Rover was the body of 18-stone Pat Tate, who was the gang's enforcer and had a long history of violence. The night before his death, the 36-year-old steroid abuser attacked a restaurant manager, slamming his head into a glass plate counter following a row over pizza toppings. He simply wanted cheese, you cunt. Tate, who had been released from prison a few weeks before, was an associate of M25 road rage killer Kenneth Noy, who he had met in jail. The leader of the group, Tony Tucker, 38, was a doorman who controlled the drugs trade in a number of Essex nightclubs. Pat Tate met Mick Steele, a known drug importer, and Jack Womes, a car mechanic and insurance fraudster, while in prison. The prisoners, who were all from Suffolk and Essex, kept in touch after their release. Tate, a bodybuilder, went on to become an enforcer for Tony Tucker, who was involved in the drugs trade in Essex nightclubs during the explosion of the rave scene in the late 80s. Informant Darren Nichols claimed Steele and Womes had become angry because an earlier narcotics deal had gone wrong. He said this was their motive for luring their victims to the country lane on the pretext of discussing a cocaine shipment. Womes, who was cleared for release from prison earlier this year, applied in 2019 to the Criminal Cases Review Commission to have his conviction overturned, and the case is still being considered. His application is thought to include details of a Scotland Yard bugging operation that recorded a gangster offering to take out the dealers who supplied Leah Betts 3 weeks before they were murdered. Tucker, Tate and Rolfe controlled the supply of ecstasy in the Basildon club where the tablet was bought. Details of the bugging operation appear in the 2002 Scotland Yard draft intelligence report called Operation Tiberius, which claimed gangsters had infiltrated the Met at will. The Mirror revealed in 2017 details of the gangsters' proposition to a retired detective then suspected of corruption. An extract in the report states, "On the 16th of November 1995, ex-officer met with criminal associate who offered the hand of friendship by offering to take out the supplier of the drugs to Leah Betts, who died of an overdose." The Tiberius report also names Jasper and says he was shot in a non-fatal attack, though it does not say when. Billy Jasper was arrested for armed robbery a month after the murders on January the 15th, 1996. He claimed another criminal, Jesse Gale, who later died in a car crash, gave him £5,000 to drive an accomplice known as Mr. D to and from Rettendon, Essex. He says Mr. D was going to do a cocaine deal with the three men. Jasper testified at the Old Bailey murder trial that he had agreed to the plan, and later spotted Mr. D's 9mm Browning pistol and sawn-off shotgun when he drove him to the murder scene at Workhouse Lane. But Jasper did not fit with Essex Police's theories. The Essex Police log noted January 18, 1996 that the account did not fit with the current intelligence, direction and evidence already available. 4 months later, Darren Nichols told police he was the real getaway driver. But David McKelvey said it was a blinkered investigation. Darren Nichols made his confession after police stopped him in a car that had cannabis worth £10,000 in the boot. Such was the significance of his testimony that while summing up at the Old Bailey trial, Mr. Justice Hidden told the jury, quote, "I hardly need to stress the importance of Nichols' evidence. So much hinges on what he said." At the time, neither judge nor jury knew that Nichols had agreed to a commercial arrangement with a writer to publish Blogs 19, a book about the killings which made Nichols several £1,000s. He remains in hiding after being given a new identity. Okay, so the real point of interest in this article is this telephone call, the 17-second phone call at 6:26 p.m. Now, clearly, the phone schedules that we have, that we've looked over the last 2 years, are not complete. It would appear that reading this article that even the defence didn't know about this 17-second phone call. There appears to be this phone call here, 17 seconds in duration at 6:26, to an unknown person made by Pat Tate. Now, what is interesting to me personally about this 17-second phone call is how it can relate to the phone call from Sarah Saunders. Now, we know, according to her police statement, that during the phone call between her and Pat Tate, he says to her, "Look, I can't speak at the moment, I'm with some people. I'll see you tomorrow. Don't worry, everything's fine. I'll see you tomorrow." The phone call ends and then he is later killed. Now, what Sarah Saunders found strange about that phone call is the fact that he mentioned he was with some people. She said if he was with Mick Steele or someone that she knew, he would have just said, "I'm with Mick and the boys at the moment, I'll see you tomorrow, can't really speak at the moment." But that's not actually what he said. He said, "I'm with some people, I'll see you tomorrow." Now, the fact that this phone call from Pat Tate to this unknown person lasts 17 seconds, could that indicate that that phone call was about Tate saying to this unknown individual, yep, I'm down the lane, I'm down Workhouse Lane, we're waiting for you, that sort of thing. 17 seconds is quite a short duration. Could it also lend a little bit more credibility to the fact that the Range Rover may have been waiting at the locked 5-bar gate for a period of time as put forward by the defence? We remember the soot deposits underneath the exhaust, which gave the indication, at least from the defence's point of view, that the Range Rover had been parked there for some length of time with the engine running. We know that when the Range Rover was discovered by the farmers, the ignition was switched to off. So you can only imagine that this was done by the perpetrator or perpetrators of this crime. So could they have been waiting down the lane? Tate makes this 17-second phone call, says, we're down the lane, where are you, we're waiting for you, how long are you going to be, we're down Workhouse Lane, ends the call. Saunders then calls, this guy has actually arrived, potentially even in the back of the Range Rover at this point, and then Tate says to her, I can't talk now, I'm with some people. That would explain the Range Rover being there with the engine running for a period of time. Tate making this short phone call to see where this person is, how long he's going to be, giving him possibly directions to where they are, and then Saunders ringing up and this guy having arrived in the Range Rover. What is worthy of mention, and something I must stress, is that we don't actually know Pat Tate's position when he made this phone call. We don't have any cell data to show, a rough proximity of where he was situated when this 17-second phone call took place. And interestingly, we don't actually have any mention of this phone call from Darren Nichols. If Steele was in the Range Rover with Tucker, Tate and Rolfe and this 17-second phone call took place, then why did Steele not mention it to Nichols after the event? Considering he mentioned supposedly the phone call between Saunders and Tate, why did he not mention the phone call at 18:26? He would have been in the Range Rover during this time period, yet this phone call is not mentioned. Interestingly, this phone call is actually omitted from the telephone bundle. I don't believe the defence even knew during the trial that this phone call even took place. Realistically, we can't even say with any great deal of certainty that the Range Rover was even down Workhouse Lane at 18:26. As I say, because we don't have this cell site data for Tate's mobile to say, a rough proximity of where he was during this time period, 18:26, it's really hard to say where the Range Rover was located when Tate made this call. Many thanks for joining me for this video. Very shortly you'll be able to see some other videos from the channel, including the Essex Boys playlist, which has all of the videos concerning this case in one convenient folder. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. I look forward to seeing you all again in the next video. Take care. Cheers.